And Shayna Dobson up first ahead of her flyweight fight against Sabina Mazo. Very first fight of the card. Obviously been a minute. Former The Ultimate Fighter. Former cast member of The Ultimate Fighter. Has not fought since last April, more than a year ago. And here we go. Still no word. They're playing with the scale. Just expected for the first fight. Make sure it's set.
124 and a half.
124 and a half for Shayna Dobson. She makes weight ahead of her women's flyweight fight against Sabina Mazo, the very first fight of the card. So far, 1 for 1. Can't see who's up. Corey Sandhagen, bantamweight, up next, taking on Rafael Assunção, coming off that impressive win over John Lineker in his last fight. Lineker was, of course, released not soon after daring the UFC to cut him. Corey Sandhagen's been. Thank you. Just got confirmation the Casey Candy Bermudez fight will indeed be 140 pounds.
136.
136 for Corey Sandhagen, who's been on a bit of a tear in the UFC bantamweight division. Says that he feels an impressive win over Rafael Assunção. He could leapfrog fighters like Aljamain Sterling or Peter Yan in the bantamweight title picture. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. I think Henry Cejudo is a little inactive right now after shoulder surgery. We have Jose Aldo calling him out. We have Frank Edgar coming down. So I think no matter what happens, I can pretty much guarantee we won't see Corey Sandhagen in a title fight after this, if he does win, of course. Anthony Pettis, of course, taking on Nate Diaz in the co-main event grudge match of his court. $169.5 for Anthony Showtime Pettis, former UFC lightweight champion. Dropped down to featherweight, challenged for the UFC interim featherweight title, and now he's at 170, healthier than ever. He said that it's been the easiest fight camp of his life. He's healthy, he can give answers, he's just not wearing sunglasses because his eyes are sucked out. He is clearly a different Showtime Pettis than we've seen in the past. And here we are, the man of the hour, UFC heavyweight champion, Daniel Cormier. I don't think there's any concern about him missing weight, that's for sure. A little bit of a jump from 170. A little bit of a joker behind us.
236 and a half.
236 and a half for Daniel Cormier. That is significantly smaller than he showed up for their first fight. I actually believed he was closer in the 250 range for their first fight, but I'm not 100%. I actually believe he came out heavier than Stipe in his last fight. So we'll see how this one. And up next, Cormier taking an extremely short notice fight against Avante Smith after Avante Smith's two previous opponents, John Medesi and Clay Collard, fell out. But I talked to Cameron Worthy before, and he said he actually was offered this fight a few weeks ago before they went with Clay Collard. But he stayed ready, stayed in camp. He was ready to go just in case something new would happen. And here we are. He got the fight. Cameron Worthy making his UFC debut against Avante Smith on extremely short notice. But confident as ever, he's in the UFC, accomplishing his dreams.
155 and a half.
155 and a half for Camo Worthy. He makes weight ahead of his UFC debut. So far, we are 5 for 5 on fighters making weight. Looks like Ian Heinisch up next. One of my favorite interviews from yesterday's media day was very open with his stint in Rikers Island for his past issues with the law. Said he wants to use his platform to help people, and a lot of people actually come up to him thanking him for sharing his story. Said that in his mind he should already be dead in jail. So what's getting a fist fight going to do to scare him? He's of course facing Derek Brunson, his biggest named opponent he's ever squared off against.
185 and a half.
185 and a half for Ian Heinisch. Former inmate turns UFC fighter. Says he expects an overconfident, wild, and emotional Derek Brunson when they finally do throw down on Saturday night. If he does win, there's no question in my mind that should propel Ian Heinisch into the top 10 of the UFC middleweight rankings. Drakkar Klose, my absolute favorite interview from yesterday. Very open about his desire to not see his son become a professional fighter. Michigan 155 and a half for Drakkar Klose. Recently made the move from MMA Lab to Fight Ready MMA in Arizona, mostly because Eddie Cha, his coach, made the move. He followed him, some of his teammates. Of course, Cormier Casey right there alongside him made the move too, so he said it's been hugely beneficial for him to the change of scenery. And up next, Rafael Assunção, one of the longest tenured fighters on this card, with some of the most wins in UFC bantamweight history, some of the longest winning streaks in UFC bantamweight history. How he's never got a title shot is beyond me. Looking to right the ship though. For his last performance against Marlon Moraes.
136.
136 for Rafael Assunção. That fight is official. Rafael Assunção and Corey Sandhagen have both successfully made weight. No drama from either man. Shouldn't be surprised. Rafael Assunção has been in the UFC since 2011. This is old hat for him. Young Ho Kane up next, taking on Brandon Davis in a bantamweight fight on the Fight Pass prelims. Coming off a very impressive win over Teruta Ishihara, UFC 234. I think one of the more exciting fights of that whole night. Did not have a chance to speak. 136. Did not have a chance to speak with him at UFC Media Day. Would have loved to have him, but had to get DC, had to get Paolo, had to get all the big names. But on win over here, a win on Saturday night gives him wins in 5 of his last 6 performances. Has a handful of submission wins. His only losses are to Ramos and Chico Camus, so he's not losing to bums. And up next, Christoph Yagos up next, who's fighting Drakkar Klose. His opponent just weighed in. Let's see if he can make it official. Coming off back-to-back wins in his last 2 fights. First fight in the United States since 2017, though. I know he's happy about that. $155 for Christos Yagos. Of course, if he wins, that will extend his win streak to 3 straight. But again, like I said, this is also his first fight in the United States in the UFC. He's fought in Sweden, he's fought in Australia, had back-to-back fights in Brazil, fought in Russia, hasn't fought in the UFC since his ACB days in 2017. So I know he's happy about that. Sadiq Youssef, Nigeria's own. Well, this massive wave of Nigerian fighters looking to make a name of himself.
145.
145 for Sadiq Youssef. He takes on Gabriel Benitez on the main card. Absolutely huge test for Youssef. Gabriel Benitez was actually, I think, 18-5, 18-4 when Sadiq Youssef made his MMA debut. So massive massive difference in experience between these two men, but he's very confident he can be the next Nigerian star, enjoy fellow Nigerians like Kamaru Usman and Israel Adesanya in the ranks of UFC champions. All right, up next, Jody Esquibel, long-time MMA veteran. Has many a fight in the Invicta banner. On a 3-fight losing skid in the UFC, has yet to pick up her first win in the UFC. Like 14 or 15 pro boxing bouts. Let's see what she makes. Her husband, Keisha Ardeen, right by her side. 116 for Jody Esquibel. You have to imagine she's feeling the pressure after dropping back-to-back losses in her first 3 UFC fights. Keisha Ardeen right there. Longtime veteran of the Octagon Strikeforce cage, turned Hollywood actor. But up next, Derek Brunson. Ian Heinisch has already made weight. Let's see if his opponent can. Spoke with him. He was at media day, he was very open about what he calls the dumbest decision in MMA history that he made. He's hoping to right the ship on Saturday.
186.
186 for Derek Brunson. Look at his resume. You pick a name in the top 10, Derek Brunson has probably fought them. He's beaten a lot of excellent fighters, he's lost to a lot of excellent fighters. He's one of the longest tenured fighters on this card. I know I've said that a few times, but Derek Brunson has really seen it all in middleweight, and he has a big test in front of him in Ian Heinisch, and he himself said he's very, very excited to showcase what he describes as a fight IQ that people overlook based on, again, what he described as the worst decisions in MMA history, all of which he believes he owns. And Hannah Cifers up next. One of the more quiet fighters you'll ever meet in your life. He takes on Jody Esquibel earlier in the card. $114.5. Hannah Cifers, huge turnout for her behind me. If you haven't, I highly recommend you go watch our interview with her. She's, I think, one of the emerging stars of Media Day. A lot of people felt very endeared to her interview we had, where she was kind of caught aback by how much fan support she's had given her quiet demeanor. But up next, Paulo Costa, man of steel up there.
186.
186 for Paulo Costa. Declared he has even more muscles than the last time we fought, which is, of course, a violent win over Uriah Hall last July. Has had a bout with USADA, which Yoel Romero was his opponent Yoel Romero was more than happy to point out, but he is on weight, and according to him, even more muscular than he's ever been. Of course, Manny Bermudez up next. Undefeated fighter taking on Casey Kenny. Was supposed to be a bantamweight bout, is now 140-pound catchweight. UFC's decision. They felt they were cutting way too much weight. $140 for Manny Bermudez. He slips off the scale. Of course, this is a catchweight. He did not miss weight. This is a 140-pound catchweight. UFC's decision, given the fact that they thought they were cutting too much weight. 14-0 though, coming off another submission win over Benito Lopez at UFC in Phoenix back in February. He's of course taking Casey Kenny, the very man up next, champ from smaller promotions, coming off a win over Ray Borg, which many people thought Ray Borg won. He was very, very adamant that those people were wrong when we spoke to him. Felt that this isn't his UFC debut. The win over Ray Borg was legit in his eyes, and can't argue with him. A win over Ray Borg is massive. It was massive for his UFC debut. $139. 139 for Casey Kenny. Of course, he did not miss weight. This is a 140-pound catch weight between him and Amanda Bermudez. UFC's decision was to bump them up 5 pounds because they felt they were cutting too much weight to the bantamweight weight limit. So this is a 140-pound catch weight. Both men have made weight. Neither one has missed weight, for those of you tuning in. Casey Kenny and Amanda Bermudez are both on weight for their 140-pound catch weight. UFC's decision, not CSAC, not their own. Of course, up next is Gabriel Benitez, who is taking on Sadiq Youssef. Big turnout behind here for Gabriel Benitez, too. Has not fought since last year, been struggling with injuries. Said he wants to find that Mexico City card if he wins on Saturday.
He's fighting Sadiq Youssef.
146.
146 for Gabriel Benitez. The crowd erupts behind us. Says he loves fighting in America, even though he's Mexican. Felt his time at AKA alongside Daniel Cormier and Khabib, who are both in fight camps, obviously was very beneficial for this fight. See how he does against the up-and-coming Sadiq Youssef. And Brandon Davis on next. Said he's run 20 miles a day just to make 135 pounds. In interviews, I made sure to ask him, I strictly asked him, is it 20 miles straight? He said he runs about 5-minute intervals to mimic a fight. 5 to 10 minutes reps.
Security, somebody please get him out of my way. Don't look at me like that. I can't stand
For Brandon Davis. 136 for Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis makes weight. So far, we are perfect on weights. Looked a little drawn out at media day, but he makes the weight. He's healthy. Says he gave up drinking. He runs 20 miles a day to mimic fights just to cut down to 135. And he's on point. Avante Smith now, all smiles, even though it's his third opponent. Third opponent of the week. Again, a lot of people walking in front of cameras right now, so we're getting told that a lot of people are being told to move. 156 for Avante Smith. As he's handing something, there he is, puts in the grills for his camera op. Avante Smith was the biggest favorite of the card. Was the biggest betting favorite on the card before he got his third opponent. I can't imagine that's changed. Yoel.
Oh, Yoel.
So, speaking with, of course, my friend Anthony Walker of Shirt Dog next to me.
My friend Jose Young's will be fighting next to me doing his live stream as well. Don't watch that, watch ours.
Oh, okay.
But just watch that.
It is Nate Diaz. I can see Chris Avila there. Nate Diaz, the man of the hour. For Nate Diaz. That fight is official. Nate Diaz versus Anthony Pettis, the welterweight fight, is 100% a go. And with that, Nate Diaz has made weight 170. Big pop for him in the back. Nate Diaz versus Anthony Pettis is official. Seems a little confused by the scale at the moment because he doesn't really cut a lot of weight to get to 170. See Stipe Miocic, maybe? Seeing a lot of cameras. Oh. Here we are, Stipe Miocic, up next, former heavyweight champion of the world.
Step on the scale and hold still, please. We're good. 230 and a half.
230 and a half for Stipe Miocic. And once again, He comes in under the former UFC light heavyweight champion on weight. Imagine Stipe Miocic. Imagine Stipe Miocic cutting down to 205. I mean, I don't think he could, but he has weighed less than Daniel Cormier on both occasions.
My buddy Jose.
And with that, Sabina Mazo up. First fight of the night. Shayna Dobson in women's flyweight bout. Looking to pick up her first win in the UFC after coming short in her debut. 126 for Sabina Mazo. And the string of no drama continues. Everyone has made weight. Yoel Romero is the last one we're waiting on. And if you would have told me, Yoel Romero, covered in sweat, clearly covered in sweat. Give the salute. Doesn't look nearly as sucked out or dehydrated as his last fight, but let's see. No towel. Seems in good spirits. $184 and a half for Yoel Romero. That is that championship weight, 0.5 pounds under. Was not expecting that. A lot of people thought he'd come in 186, considering he made 186.2. So 184.5. All concerns with Yoel Romero missing weight have been erased. He has made weight every single fighter.